Hi, my name is Jack. Today we're watching the horrible case of Emily Longley. The mysterious disappearance of Emily Longley has stirred up emotions and curiosity, sparking widespread interest. The purpose of this piece is to reveal the story of Emily Longley's life, the circumstances surrounding her disappearance, and the ongoing search for her. More than 10 years ago, 17-year-old Emily Longley was murdered by her boyfriend. On the eve of her murder trial, her father, Mark Longley, learned that Emily's death occurred after she began engaging in increasingly threatening behavior. He vowed to help spread the word about how devastating emotional abuse can be and what warning signs to look out for. Emily Longley was born on July 15, 1993, to Mark and Caroline Longley, and grew up with her youngest daughter. Emily grew up with her younger sister Hannah, with whom she had a close bond from an early age. However, life in New Zealand took an unexpected turn when Emily, falling in with the wrong crowd, forced her middle-class parents to send her back to the UK to live with her grandparents. Also from an early age, Emily dreamed of being a model, and with her attractive looks, I think her dreams would have easily come true if not for her further dating. In 2010, Emily began a new chapter in England, enrolling at Brockenhurst College with the intention of earning a degree in business and pursuing a modeling career. Settling into her grandparents' home in Bournemouth, a popular resort town in Dorset, she began to turn her dreams into reality. Despite the family's move and her parents' subsequent divorce, they maintained a warm. Despite the family's move and her parents' subsequent divorce, they retained a warm relationship, and Emily remained particularly close to her father, Mark. She has been described as an energetic and outgoing girl. Emily's striking beauty and charismatic personality soon attracted the attention of 20-year-old Elliot Turner. Elliot Turner, the son of a wealthy jeweler, Elliot was any child in a family with plenty of wealth and plenty of opportunities to please his son. Their budding romance seemed promising at first. It seemed like the perfect couple that fit together. However, during a visit to New Zealand in April 2011, Emily expressed doubts about their relationship to her family and thought it would end when she returned to England. This visit, filled with treasured family moments and news about her life, would turn out to be her last meeting with her parents. And to confirm Emily's words, after returning to England, Emily and Turner's relationship began to unravel. After all, Turner, the son of a wealthy jeweler, led a life of excess, partying, women, alcohol, and drug abuse. Known for his boastful behavior and aggressive tendencies, he was obsessive. Harassment in past relationships soon made itself felt in his relationship with Emily. Despite his attempts to maintain a nice guy image, his controlling and threatening behavior became increasingly apparent. Emily's struggle with Turner's possessiveness and intimidation culminated in a heartfelt note in which she pleaded with him to change his aggressive behavior. However, Turner's obsession only intensified. On the night of May 6, 2011, Emily and Turner had an altercation at a nightclub, accompanied by with heated arguments and public humiliation, set off a series of tragic events. Despite Emily's attempts to pull away, Turner, unable to accept rejection, followed her home, threatening that he was ready to kill for her and suffer all the consequences. The evening, which began as a youth party, ended in disaster at Turner's family home. The subsequent events of that fateful night reveal a harrowing tale of unrequited obsession that would lead to a shocking and devastating denouement. On a fateful night, 911 received a call from Anita Turner, the mother of Emily's boyfriend. Despite Anita's efforts to follow emergency instructions, it was tragically too late. When the ambulance arrived around 9 a.m., paramedics could only confirm the worst. Emily Longley was dead. Anita, originally from Indonesia, had relocated to the UK after marrying Lee Turner. The couple had a son, Elliot, whom they may have indulged excessively, a fact that would later cast a shadow over the unfolding tragedy. During her conversation with emergency services, Anita's tone appeared unusually calm given the grim discovery of a young woman's lifeless body, a stark contrast to the expected emotional turmoil. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in New Zealand, Emily's father, Mark, awoke to a nightmarish reality. Upon seeing a barrage of missed calls from his ex-wife Caroline and daughter Hannah at 2 a.m., Mark listened to a voicemail message from Hannah, followed by Caroline's piercing scream in the background. Emily was dead. Refusing to accept the devastating news, Mark contacted his mother in England, only to have his worst fears confirmed by a solemn police officer. "I regret to inform you that your daughter Emily is dead," the officer said. Numb with disbelief and grief, Mark struggled to comprehend the reality that his daughter, who had been happily sitting on his couch just a week prior, was now gone. Emily's death placed an unbearable burden on her family, forcing them to confront the profound loss of their beloved daughter and sister. The circumstances surrounding Emily's death were as mysterious as they were tragic, sparking an investigation into the complex web of relationships and events leading up to that fateful morning. News of Emily's death in her sleep left her family and friends grappling with disbelief. As police gathered evidence at the crime scene, uncertainty shrouded the circumstances of Emily's demise, awaiting the autopsy results that held the key to solving the mystery. Elliot Turner and his parents maintained to investigators that they were home all night and hadn't noticed anything amiss. Despite Elliot's public display of grief on social media, police couldn't immediately challenge his account that Emily had passed away in her sleep. Establishing the cause of death was paramount in unraveling the case, as it not only illuminated the circumstances but also guided the investigation's direction. A chilling revelation emerged from Emily's Facebook page. A post dated May 5th recounted a disturbing encounter with a stalker who claimed to know everything about her. Further investigation revealed a public altercation between Emily and Elliot at a nightclub, shedding light on his possessive and controlling behavior. Elliot's repeated threats against Emily's life, dismissed by friends as empty boasts, took on a more sinister tone in light of the inconclusive autopsy results that hinted at strangulation. With expert analysis suggesting strangulation as a possible cause of death, suspicion turned toward the Turner family, casting doubts on their involvement in Emily's untimely demise. At 2 a.m, Mark discovered a flurry of missed calls from his ex-wife Caroline and daughter Hannah. A muffled voicemail from Hannah followed, with Caroline's piercing scream in the background. The devastating message was clear: Emily is dead. Unwilling to accept such horrific news, Mark reached out to his mother in England, only to have his worst fears confirmed by a solemn police officer. "I regret to inform you that your daughter Emily is dead," the officer solemnly stated. Mark, numb with disbelief and grief, struggled to comprehend the reality that his daughter, who had been happily sitting on his couch just a week before, was now gone. The news placed an unbearable burden on her family, forcing them to confront the terrible loss of their beloved daughter and sister. The circumstances surrounding Emily's death were as mysterious as they were tragic, prompting an investigation into the complex web of relationships and events leading up to that fateful morning. The news that Emily had died in her sleep left her family and friends in disbelief. Emily, a vibrant young woman in the prime of her life, made her sudden demise even more incomprehensible. As police gathered evidence at the crime scene, uncertainty swirled around the circumstances of Emily's death, with the key to solving the mystery lying in the eagerly awaited autopsy results. Despite Elliot Turner and his parents claiming they were home all night and hadn't noticed anything unusual, further investigation revealed disturbing details. Elliot's public expressions of grief on social media contrasted with the unsettling post on Emily's Facebook page recounting a stalker encounter. Interviews with Turner's friends depicted a possessive and controlling boyfriend, further exacerbated by Elliot's threats against Emily's life. When the inconclusive autopsy hinted at strangulation as a possible cause of death, suspicion turned toward the Turner family, prompting investigators to install listening devices in their home to uncover any incriminating conversations. The investigation took a significant turn when an audio tape surfaced, capturing Elliot Turner confessing his involvement in Emily's death. Despite vehement denials and attempts by the defense to discredit the recording, the court deemed it admissible, strengthening the prosecution's case. Elliot's trial delved into his psyche, revealing a young man consumed by anger and frustration. His fluctuating account of events ranged from self-defense to complete denial, painting a chaotic picture of the tragic night. According to Elliot, a tense argument escalated, resulting in him grabbing Emily by the neck, though he claims it was not fatal. As the trial progressed, Elliot Turner's enigmatic persona came into focus. He was depicted as a privileged young man raised in luxury by indulgent parents in their home in Queen's Park, Bournemouth. This opulent lifestyle was underscored by Elliot's own living space, complete with a minibar where the tragic event unfolded. Forensic examination of Elliot's computer unveiled unsettling searches for strangulation and criminal evasion, hinting at sinister intentions. The prosecution presented a compelling case, suggesting that jealousy was the driving force behind the crime, supported by accounts of Elliot's controlling and threatening behavior towards Emily. Despite Elliot's grandiose fantasies of capitalizing on his background and maintaining a lavish lifestyle post-incarceration, the jury's guilty verdict shattered those illusions, resulting in a minimum prison sentence of 16 years. During sentencing, Judge Dobbs highlighted Elliot's arrogant demeanor and manipulative tendencies. She poignantly acknowledged that Emily's promising life was unjustly cut short due to Elliot's actions. Elliot's parents, Anita and Lee Turner, also faced legal repercussions, being found guilty of perverting the course of justice for attempting to cover up the crime, each receiving a 27-month prison sentence. The trial unveiled the true nature of Elliot Turner, a vain individual who believed himself above the law. The verdict not only served justice by holding Elliot accountable for his heinous deeds, but also honored Emily Longley's memory, tragically taken by senseless violence. While incarcerated at Swaleside Prison in Kent, Elliot's behavior continued to stir controversy. Reports emerged of him boasting about receiving fan mail from older women and displaying pictures of Emily, the woman he was convicted of murdering, in his cell. These actions not only revealed a lack of remorse but also garnered resentment from fellow inmates. In 2013, a source from a B prison disclosed Turner's disturbing behavior to the Daily Star. According to the source, Turner adorned his cell with images of the girl he killed, professing his love for her and maintaining his innocence. Turner's arrogance and constant denial of guilt led to tensions within the prison community, resulting in reported assaults and subsequent transfers. Despite Turner's attempt to appeal his murder conviction being rejected, he remains imprisoned, ineligible for parole until at least 2028. His persistent denial of guilt and provocative conduct in prison reflect an inability to reckon with the severity of his actions and the lives he has irreversibly impacted. Hi, my name is Jack. Today we're going to watch another horrible case of Carly Ryan. Carly Ryan was born on January 31, 1992, to her mother Sonia, who was a young mother in her early 20s. Sonia was single and raising her daughter alone, so Carly and her mother were very close. In an article from Australian Women's Weekly, Sonia said, "Carly, strangely enough, saved my life several times and gave me purpose when I was a young woman. We've always had a very strong bond. We always had each other." In 2006, Carly Ryan thought she had met the guy of her dreams on the internet. His name was Brandon Kane, an 18-year-old musician from Melbourne. Brandon was actually fictitious, an internet construct, an alter ego in cyberspace of Harry Francis Newman, a 50-year-old predator and pedophile. Carly fell in love with Brandon's model over 18 months of online interactions and phone calls. Carly Ryan lived in Stirling, South Australia with her mother Sonia Ryan. About 18 months before her death, using MySpace and VampireFreaks.com, she befriended Brandon Kane, a fictional teenager, a native Texan living in Melbourne, which eventually developed into an online and phone romance. In an interview, her mother Sonia stated that one day when she looked over Carly's shoulder while she was sitting at her computer, she noticed a looped vision of a boy typing, although she did not know it was looped at the time. In January 2007, Harry Newman traveled from Melbourne posing as Shane, Brandon's father, to give Ryan gifts, underwear and nursing clothes, from the non-existent Brandon. After meeting her mother, he was allowed to attend Carly's 15th birthday party and stay the night. After shopping together, Newman's increasingly promiscuous and possessive behavior at the party, and inappropriate physical advances, including lying on Ryan's bed with her, Sonia Ryan told him to leave. who then began to monitor Ryan's internet use more closely. Translated with deepl.com, free version. Harry Newman spent months masquerading as Brandon Kane to win Carly's love. When he tried to seduce her in person, pretending to be Brandon's father, Shane, she rejected him. An enraged Harry Newman returned to Melbourne, vowing to fix Carly. He used his alter ego to lure Carly to a final fateful meeting. In February 2007, Harry Newman convinced Carly to meet him. He took Carly to a secluded beach in Port Elliot, South Australia. There he beat her, pushed her face into the sand, strangled her, and then threw her into the water to drown. She was just 15 years old. Within 11 days, detectives found Harry Newman in Victoria. They found him at his computer, logged in as Brandon Kane, talking to a 14-year-old girl from Western Australia. They arrested him, charging him with Carly's murder. In a Supreme Court trial that lasted more than 3 months, a jury found Harry Francis Newman guilty of murder. He was sentenced on March 31, 2010. South Australian Judge Trish Kelly ordered him to serve life behind bars with a 29-year period without parole. Judge Kelly stated that Harry Newman deserves life behind bars for his extremely twisted plan to deceive, seduce, and murder Carly. "You did a horribly cruel thing to this beautiful, impressionable 15-year-old girl," Judge Kelly said. Kane, the real man, was in fact a balding, overweight, middle-aged pedophile who had sex and murder on his mind. Judge Kelly said, "You were sexually obsessed with Carly to the extent that when you could not get your way, you prepared to kill her and did kill her." Carly was a beautiful, sensitive, loving, and amazing girl who had her whole life ahead of her. Carly had her dreams, goals, and future taken away from her by a selfish, twisted, and deviant sexual predator. Determined to help prevent harm to other innocent children and families and help them navigate the internet safely, Sonia established the Carly Ryan Foundation, CRF, in 2010. Sonia Ryan has over 14 years of experience and expertise. Her goal is to raise awareness and educate children and parents who use the internet, find gaps in child protection laws, develop and recommend policy additions, and empower law enforcement to arrest child abusers, enabling courts to successfully prosecute offenders. Ms. Ryan has led efforts in Australia for over a decade to make her home country one of the toughest on online crime and harm, and now an international leader in crime prevention. Cybercriminals will continue to prey on children unless we recognize the risks associated with various online environments, chat rooms, and social networking sites. What happened to Carly could happen to anyone. The people grooming young people online are manipulative and controlling. They know exactly how to target a child. They become the most important person in the child's life, and then use that trust to do whatever they want with their victim. The internet is part of our everyday lives, so it is essential that children, teenagers, and young adults learn how to navigate the World Wide Web safely.
Hi, my name is Andrew. Today we're watching the horrible case of Meighan Cordie. Meighan Cordie was a 27-year-old licensed cosmetologist living in Salem, Oregon. She had a gorgeous 3-year-old daughter, Gia. Meighan's father was Clackamas Fire Captain Tony Cordie, and her mother was a woman named Jennifer Weathers. Her parents divorced in 2005. Jennifer, Meighan, and Gia planned to attend a family wedding at Heiser Farms in Dayton, Oregon on August 18, 2018. The day before the wedding, they argued over who would be the designated driver for the event. Meighan didn't want to drive because she wanted to have a few drinks, and her car had a breathalyzer ignition interlock on it, linked to a previous DUI. Jennifer's argument was that Gia might get tired and fussy, and that Meighan should drive in case they had to leave the event early. It is unclear who ended up driving to the wedding, but Meighan and Jennifer had consumed alcohol the night before. One guest described Jennifer as carelessly drunk. Many guests stated that Meighan had been drinking, but did not appear drunk. The trio left the wedding when Gia got tired around 10 p.m. As they walked to the car, Jennifer was in over her head and snapped at Meighan. "I told you this was going to happen." Jennifer drove home from the wedding. The two adults argued all the way home. The fight escalated to the point where Meighan demanded to be let out of the car on the 8-mile drive. According to Jennifer, she slowed down to 5 miles per hour, and Meighan climbed out of the back seat where she was sitting with Gia. Jennifer continued driving for several minutes before she decided to turn around and find Meighan. She returned to the location, but it was dark and she was nowhere to be seen. Jennifer assumed that Meighan would find her way home on her own. When the next day dawned and Meighan still hadn't returned home, Jennifer became worried. She called Yamhill County Dispatch and reported Meighan missing. "I'm sorry. My daughter has been missing since last night, and I'm a little worried because she's supposed to work in 10 minutes and I haven't heard from her. We were at a wedding and she got upset and got out of the car and I haven't heard from her since, and I haven't been able to find her. I drove 2 hours this morning looking for the place where she got out of the car, and so I don't know if I should call 911 or if I have to wait a certain amount of time. And she didn't have a phone. She didn't have a cell phone. She left it in my car. She didn't have her purse. Everything was in my car." Jennifer was asked if she wanted to report Meighan missing. She replied, "Yes, I think so." The Yamhill County Sheriff immediately began looking for Meighan. Yamhill County Search and Rescue was called in. They provided air and sea patrols, deputies, and hundreds of volunteers, many of them professional firefighters with ties to Meighan's father, spent the next few days combing the area looking for any trace of her dyed blonde hair and floral print pantsuit. The police asked Jennifer to drive them to the spot where Meighan had gotten out of the car. Jennifer admitted that she didn't know exactly where her daughter had last been seen. She claimed it was dark and she didn't know the area. According to police reports, she finally identified a location near Grand Island where she thought Meighan might have left the car. She remembered grass on the side of the road with no streetlights. Detectives marked the spot with a cone. When no trace of Meighan could be found, law enforcement began to doubt Jennifer's version of events. They searched her car and found a clump of human hair in the front seat, which Jennifer admitted Meighan had plucked from her head when their fight turned physical. Meighan's cell phone and shoes were also found in the front seat. Detectives wondered why her belongings were in the front, even though Jennifer said she was sitting in the back. Jennifer agreed to take a polygraph test on August 22nd. When she arrived to take the test, she told police she had taken myorelaxants. The test then had to be rescheduled, and the results were inconclusive. "None of this makes sense," Jennifer told the polygraph examiner. "I feel like I don't remember something." After discussing the circumstances surrounding Meighan's disappearance, the detective asked 2 specific questions. "Are you lying that your daughter got out of the car on her own?" the examiner asked. "No," Jennifer said. "Are you lying about any part of your daughter's disappearance?" "No." Jennifer displayed erratic physiologic responses, the examiner wrote in his report. "It is impossible to determine if Jennifer was truthful in answering the above questions," wrote Thomas Johnson of the Salem Police Department. "The results of the test are inconclusive." Jennifer agreed when police asked her to retake the test the next day. Later that night, she sent them an email asking them to postpone the test. She never changed her schedule. On August 22nd, the Yamhill County Sheriff announced that their search was suspended. On August 23rd, a group of joggers were driving along an embankment near Highway 18 in Dayton and spotted something that looked like a woman's body. The body was dressed in a floral print pantsuit and was lying 20 feet off the road on a steep embankment. Meighan Cordie was found 9 miles from where her mother said she was last seen. The next day, the Oregon State Medical Examiner performed an autopsy on Meighan. What they found proved Jennifer Weathers' story to be untrue. There were no signs on her feet that she had walked 9 miles without shoes. The experts concluded that she died of blunt force trauma. She had 2 broken vertebrae and suffered head trauma. However, the immediate cause of death was a ruptured aorta, which could have caused an immediate loss of blood pressure and internal bleeding. According to Yamhill County District Attorney Brad Berry, her injuries were not related to her jumping out of a slow-moving vehicle or being hit by a car. Her injuries indicated that she fell or jumped from a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed. They found that Meighan had exited the car 2 times that night. The first time she got out of the car from the front seat. Her mother convinced her to get in the car again, and Meighan got into the back seat. This explains why Meighan's belongings were in the front of the car. Gia was questioned, and police believe that Meighan got out of the car from the back seat the last time. Police believe that during another argument, Jennifer either missed a turn or got lost. Then, On a curvy stretch of road where cars usually accelerate to enter the highway, Meighan is believed to have opened the back door and either lost her balance or intentionally jumped out of the car. Police reports indicate that Gia described the speed at which the car was traveling when her mom jumped out of it. A family member explained that as they pulled onto the freeway, the little girl noticed. That's how fast Jennifer was going when her mom jumped out of the car. She hit the guardrail and the roadway, killing her instantly, and rolled down the embankment. The evidence does not indicate that she was pushed out of the car. Jennifer did not turn the car around and search for Meighan as she had previously stated. She did not immediately call the police because she was intoxicated. Police spent weeks trying to figure out if they could charge Jennifer in Meighan's death. On October 1st, 2018, Jennifer was charged with driving while intoxicated and recklessly endangering another person. It could never be determined if Jennifer intentionally misled detectives or if she was too drunk to remember. On February 5th, 2019, Jennifer pleaded guilty to DUI. She was sentenced to 5 days in jail. As part of the plea agreement, she is prohibited from having any contact with Gia. Gia now lives with her biological father. In an attempt to distance herself from the incident, Jennifer applied to legally change her name to Jennifer S. Jagar. A judge granted her application on February 21st, 2019. In October 2019, Jennifer's father filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Jennifer Jagar. Tony Cordie is demanding $500,000 from Jennifer, who he claims was driving drunk when Meighan died. He blames Jennifer for not stopping the car to find Meighan and help her. The trial is ongoing and updates will be provided as they become available. Hi, my name is Andrew. Today we're watching another horrible case of Grant Amato. No parent is flawless, but they typically strive to do their best. Despite this, there are instances where some parents fall short, leading to various forms of child abuse and neglect that inflict pain and trauma. Each case is unique and devastating in its own right. However, the story we're about to delve into is quite the opposite. It's not about abuse or neglect, but rather about the unconditional love most parents have for their children. They hope to provide a nurturing environment for them to thrive, fostering responsible and productive members of society. But what happens when children take advantage of this unconditional love, when they're given everything yet still feel unfulfilled? The Amato family resided at 2112 Sultan Circle in Chuluota, Florida. Margaret, 61, and Chad, 59, were a devoted couple with 3 sons. Jason, the eldest, was Margaret's child from a previous relationship and was adopted by Chad at the age of 3. They later had Cody in 1987 and Grant in 1989. Chuluota, derived from the Native American word Chuluoto, means island of pines, land of lakes and pines, or beautiful place. Settled shortly after the Civil War, it's currently an unincorporated community in Seminole County, Florida, with a population of 2,483 residents as of the 2010 census, located about 25 miles east of Orlando. In 2019, Jason resided in Winter Springs, Florida, working as a mortgage underwriter. Chad and Margaret were hardworking individuals. Chad, a pharmacist at CVS Health, and Margaret, a senior operations manager at Nuance Transcription Services. They owned a spacious 4-bedroom home on a 2.9-acre plot and had recently purchased a home in Tennessee for retirement. The Amato family shared a passion for soccer and were avid Florida Gators fans. Margaret's greatest love, besides her family, was horses. She spent her spare time caring for Lady, a horse she rescued, displaying unwavering dedication despite the challenges. Grant and Cody were inseparable brothers, attending Timber Creek High School together and both participating in the weightlifting team. After graduation, they pursued nursing degrees with aspirations of becoming nurse anesthetists. Their dream was to remain in Chuluota while their parents retired in Tennessee, but their plans took a different turn. While Cody excelled in nursing, Grant struggled, ultimately failing a nurse anesthesia course and later being fired from Advent Health Orlando in June 2018 for stealing medication. Specifically, he was caught stealing propofol, a medication known for inducing unconsciousness and memory loss. In 2009, propofol gained infamy as one of the drugs implicated in Michael Jackson's death, along with a mixture of benzodiazepines. Grant faced arrest and charges of grand theft, along with allegations of improperly prescribing medication to patients. When questioned by hospital management, he claimed to have prescribed the drug to patients for relaxation purposes. Following his termination, Grant spiraled into isolation and depression. He spent countless hours in his bedroom on the computer, adopting a nocturnal lifestyle. His physical health deteriorated, marked by significant weight loss, dark circles under his eyes, and pallid skin. Online, Grant portrayed himself as a successful gamer and affluent bachelor, concealing the truth about his unemployed status, living with his parents, and driving a Honda Accord. His relationship with Sylvia Venceslavova, whom he met on a pornographic live streaming site, became a significant aspect of his life. Grant, known as Sylvie, became obsessed with Sylvia, even resorting to pleading for free videos from her. Despite Grant's deceptive behavior and legal troubles, his family continued to support him. Chad took out a second mortgage to cover Grant's debts and court costs. Despite discovering fraudulent activities in his name, Chad refrained from reporting it to avoid worsening Grant's situation. In December, Grant's situation briefly improved when the grand theft charges against him were dropped, and he went on a trip to Japan with his brother Cody and a friend. However, tensions rose between Grant and his family upon his return, leading to frequent arguments about his lifestyle and unemployment. On December 19, 2018, after a particularly intense argument, Grant left home and texted his mother, expressing his weariness and intention to handle things his way. Concerned, Margaret reported him missing to the police. Grant sought refuge at his Aunt Donna's house, where he remained in a distressed state. Donna discovered his financial misdeeds and informed Chad, who pleaded with her not to press charges. Cody promised to repay the stolen money. During a family intervention on December 22, 2018, Grant was urged to seek help and voluntarily entered a rehab program. However, he left the program prematurely and faced a set of strict rules from his father, including finding employment, paying off debts, and abstaining from online activities. Despite his family's efforts to support and rehabilitate him, Grant's behavior continued to deteriorate, leading to a welfare check by authorities when Cody failed to show up for work. Seminole County Deputy Todd Motterson arrived at the Amato residence and, after unsuccessful attempts to make contact, entered the home with another deputy's assistance. In the doorway between the home gym and the garage, Cody Amato, clad in athletic attire, lay in a semi-fetal position, a gunshot wound beneath his eye. The gun rested about 5 feet away from his body. Moving through the house, the detectives discovered Chad Amato in the kitchen, lying face up, with 2 gunshot wounds to the head, while Margaret Amato was found seated in her office, having suffered a single gunshot wound to the head. However, Grant Amato was conspicuously absent and his cell phone was disconnected. The following morning, detectives located Grant at the Doubletree Hotel, where he had placed an ad for his 1996 Honda Accord. They requested his presence for questioning at the station, to which he agreed. During the interview, Grant, in a nonchalant manner, discussed his gaming hobby and complained about his family dynamics. He portrayed Chad as a controlling and abusive figure, alleging physical abuse towards Margaret, Jason, and himself in the past. Grant admitted to lavishly spending his father's money to interact with Sylvie, a Bulgarian web model, acknowledging the foolishness of his actions. He also revealed that Chad had accessed his computer and phone records during his rehabilitation stint, exposing his lies to Sylvie. Despite 3 hours of interrogation, Grant did not inquire about his family's fate. When confronted with crime scene photos, he became visibly emotional, denying involvement in the murders. Jason, Grant's older brother, expressed disbelief and urged him to confess, but Grant remained silent. Jason, having provided an alibi for January 24th, emphasized the inconsistency of Grant's account and prayed for him before leaving. Grant recounted his version of events, claiming to have left the house after a confrontation with Chad, with Cody accompanying him to the driveway around midnight on January 25th. Despite Grant's narrative, detectives found discrepancies and lacked evidence to implicate Jason in the murders, reaffirming his alibi and finding no incriminating evidence during their investigation. According to Grant, the last time he saw his family, they were all alive. After this encounter, he drove to a local Publix grocery store to use its Wi-Fi to prepare for an interview the following morning. Later, He fell asleep in his car, awakening around 6:45 a.m. to proceed to his interview. Despite Grant's assertions of innocence, suspicion mounted against him. Sloan Young, Codie's girlfriend, informed detectives that Grant had stolen approximately $60,000 from Codie, including his firearms, which he intended to sell. She recounted Codie's apprehensions about Grant's escalating behavior, including disturbing statements about harming others. On January 28th, Grant was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree premeditated murder, to which he pleaded not guilty. Held in Seminole County Jail on $750,000 bail, he was prohibited from accessing funds from his parents' estate. Grant's trial commenced on July 23, 2019, with the prosecution led by Assistant State Attorneys Stuart Stone and Dominic Leo. Notably, there were no signs of forced entry at the Amato residence, and valuables remained untouched. Digital forensic examiner Geraldine Blay played a pivotal role in establishing the timeline of events on the day of the murders. According to her analysis, Grant shot his mother Margaret around 4:45 p.m., followed by his father Chad upon his return home. Codie was fatally shot upon his arrival later that evening. The prosecution contended that Grant staged the crime scene to appear as a murder-suicide involving Codie. He strategically placed bullets and altered his father's phone settings to mislead investigators. Notably, evidence suggested that Grant attempted to access Chad's banking app using his fingerprint after his death. Throughout the trial, expert testimony and forensic analysis depicted Grant's meticulous planning and execution of the murders. Despite his pleas of innocence, compelling evidence painted a chilling portrait of calculated violence and deception. Additionally, acquaintances of Chad attested that he typically did not carry a gun on his hip while at home. Furthermore, testimony from the trial revealed suspicious discrepancies in the positioning of the victims' bodies. Chad, who had been shot in the back of the head, was found lying face up, suggesting manipulation of the crime scene. Similarly, Codie's body showed signs of being moved, with blood pools indicating repositioning after the fatal shots. Expert testimony from firearms examiner Richard Root contradicted the prosecution's claims, stating that none of the firearms found in the residence were used in the killings. Additionally, the bullets found near the victims did not match the weapons discovered at the scene. Furthermore, the medical examiner's assessment indicated that Codie's wounds were inconsistent with self-inflicted gunshots, reinforcing the conclusion of homicide for all 3 victims. Testimony from Blake Turpin implicated Grant in the theft of a firearm, raising suspicions of his involvement in the murders. Despite lacking direct evidence linking the stolen weapon to the crime, the prosecution argued that Grant's familiarity with Turpin's firearms and his history of theft warranted consideration in the case. The prosecution painted a picture of Grant's descent into obsession and resentment following his termination from employment. Grant's infatuation with webcam model Sylvie Venceslavova led to conflicts with his family, particularly his father's attempts to intervene in his online relationship. Chad's revelation to Sylvie of Grant's true circumstances further fueled Grant's animosity towards his family, culminating in the tragic events. A letter penned by Grant to his online acquaintances served as damning evidence of his motives and emotions leading up to the murders. In the letter, Grant confessed to fabricating his life to Sylvie and expressed deep-seated resentment towards his family, blaming them for his despair and severed connection with Sylvie. During closing arguments, the prosecution emphasized Grant's fixation on Sylvie as the driving force behind the murders. Testimony from Grant's brother Jason provided insight into the family dynamics and interventions made prior to the tragedy, portraying a poignant narrative of familial strife and concern. Grant's defense team countered the prosecution's case, alleging investigative oversight and premature focus on Grant as the sole suspect. They criticized the handling of evidence and urged the consideration of alternative suspects in the investigation. Grant Amato's guilty plea to the murders, based solely on the question, if not Grant who, was deemed insufficient for conviction, argued the defense. They contended that the prosecution's timeline of events was flawed and amounted to mere speculation regarding the timing of each family member's death. During Geraldine Blay's cross-examination, one of Grant's attorneys, Jared Shapiro, challenged her testimony by highlighting the absence of concrete evidence regarding Codie Amato's time of death and the individual responsible for connecting Codie's cell phone to Grant's computer. Shapiro questioned Blaze's conclusions, suggesting they were speculative and not based on factual evidence. The defense further disputed the prosecution's claim that Grant accessed his deceased father's bank account, pointing out inconsistencies in the timeline. They questioned whether Grant had the means and opportunity to carry out such actions, given the lack of definitive evidence implicating him in the crime. Additionally, the defense rejected the prosecution's assertion that Grant lacked motive to harm his family. They argued that Grant's obsession with Sylvie, coupled with his family's interference in his relationship and insistence on financial repayment, provided ample motive for the murders. Despite the absence of physical evidence linking Grant to the crime scene, the defense contended that the delay in apprehending Grant allowed him sufficient time to eliminate any traces of DNA or dispose of potential incriminating evidence. Moreover, the defense emphasized Grant's purported lack of access to firearms, citing his sale of personal firearms to finance his interactions with Sylvie and his lack of knowledge about his father's gun safe combination. In the end, after 8 hours of deliberation, the jury found Grant Amato guilty of first-degree premeditated murder of his father, mother, and brother. The verdict was met with emotional tributes to the victims, underscoring the devastating impact of their loss on their loved ones and community.
Hi, my name is Jack. Today we're going to watch the horrific case of Kelly Wilkinson. This story has shocked me, and not just me, but the whole of Australia. It's about a resident of Gold Coast, Australia, who was murdered in April 2020. The whole of Gold Coast was shocked by the news. Kelly was a mother of 3 children, living alone with her 3 children, separated from her divorced husband. Her husband's name is Brian Earl Johnston. Kelly's case has gotten a lot of media attention because of the horrific nature of her death. According to police statements, Brian Earl Johnston, her separated husband, is accused of killing Kelly Wilkinson. It is alleged that he committed the heinous act by dousing her with gasoline and setting her on fire in the backyard of her Gold Coast home. When police arrived at the scene, they found Kelly's charred body, and Johnston was found nearby with serious burns to his hands and respiratory tract. He was subsequently taken into custody as a suspect in the case. During the trial, it was revealed that Brian Earl Johnston had undergone an initial psychiatric evaluation. However, the court requested a second evaluation to get more information about his mental state before proceeding with the case. Johnston's defense team was responsible for securing a meeting with the second psychiatrist and presenting the court with the resulting report. Another man named Bradley Bell was also implicated in connection with Kelly Wilkinson's death. Police claimed that Bell drove Johnston to Kelly's home and helped obtain the fuel that was used in the crime. As such, Bradley Bell has been charged with murder and is also in custody awaiting trial. Kelly Wilkinson's tragic death has shocked the community and sparked discussions about domestic violence and the need to support and protect victims. Her case has brought attention to the devastating effects of such violence and the importance of addressing this issue in the community. Kelly Wilkinson's tragic story is heartbreaking and deeply shocking. In April 2021, this 27-year-old woman's life was cut short at her home in Arundel on the Gold Coast, Australia. Her ex-partner, Brian Earl Johnston, a former U.S. Marine, allegedly committed the heinous act of dousing Kelly with gasoline and setting her on fire. Neighbors found her badly burned body in the backyard of her home. Kelly's 3 young children, ages 2 to 9, were in the house at the time of the alleged attack. After the tragedy, Kelly's sister, Danielle Carroll, along with her husband Reese and 5 cousins, sheltered the grief-stricken children and provided them with a home. However, their living conditions were cramped and difficult, with up to 5 people sharing one bed. This situation caught the attention of compassionate entrepreneur Tamika Smith, who launched the I Support Kelly campaign to build a new home for the family. Through the campaign, Tamika gained the support of the Queensland construction sector, and Metricon Homes offered to build a new home for free. The local community came together, and local tradespeople and volunteers invested their time and effort to build a fully furnished 7-bedroom home on the outskirts of the Gold Coast. The goal was not only to provide a home for the children, but also to give them a fresh start, hope, and a stable environment after experiencing trauma. Tamika Smith saw the project as a way to bring positive change to vulnerable families facing a housing crisis in Australia. Following the tragic death of Kelly Wilkinson, her sister Danielle and her husband established the Kelly Wilkinson Foundation in her memory to support survivors of domestic violence. The family hopes to make a lasting impact on the lives of those affected by such violence. As for Brian Earl Johnston, he remains in custody and has not yet pleaded guilty. The trial is ongoing, with new legal teams and hearings being scheduled. Johnston's trial is expected to be lengthy as the Crown is charging Kelly Wilkinson with domestic violence, including sexual assault. The community's efforts to support Kelly's children and provide them with a new home is a testament to the care and resilience of people in the face of tragedy. It is our hope that this act of kindness will help the children recover from their trauma and give them a stable and loving environment in which they can grow and thrive. Meanwhile, the trial against Kelly's alleged killer continues. Kelly Wilkinson tragically died in April 2021 in a horrific incident that shocked the people of the Gold Coast and the rest of Australia. The circumstances surrounding her death were deeply disturbing and heartbreaking. According to reports, Kelly's former partner, Brian Earl Johnston, a former U.S. Marine, is accused of being responsible for her death. It is alleged that he doused Kelly with gasoline and set her on fire in the backyard of her home in Arundel, Gold Coast. Neighbors discovered her badly burned body after the incident. Kelly's 3 young children were inside the house at the time of the alleged attack. The children watched in horror as the tragedy unfolded before their eyes. After Kelly's death, her sister Danielle Carroll, along with her husband Reese and 5 cousins, sheltered the grief-stricken children and provided a home for them. Tamika Smith, a compassionate businesswoman and half-sister to Sister Kelly's husband, spearheaded a public appeal to build a new home for the family. The I Support Kelly campaign received overwhelming support from Queensland's construction sector, with Metricon Homes leading the effort to build a fully furnished 7-bedroom home for the family. The project was completed after more than 2 years of hard work, dedication, and support from local tradespeople and volunteers. The aim of the project was not only to provide the family with a new home, but also to give them a fresh start and new hope after experiencing trauma. We hope to provide a safe and secure environment for the children, to help them heal from a painful past and to build a strong foundation for the future. Kelly Wilkinson's death underscored the critical need to combat domestic violence and support victims of such heinous acts. In her memory, Kelly's sister Kelly and her husband established the Kelly Wilkinson Foundation to provide assistance and support to those affected by domestic violence. As for Brian Earl Johnston, he remains in custody and has not yet pleaded guilty. Court proceedings are ongoing and a trial is expected to take place in early February next year. The Crown alleges that Johnston committed domestic violence, including sexual violence, against Kelly Wilkinson, and those allegations will be presented during the trial. Kelly Wilkinson's death has caused both grief and a strong call for change in the community. Many individuals and organizations have come forward to support vulnerable families and victims of domestic violence. It is hoped that through such collective efforts, lasting change can be made that will help address the dire housing situation and create a safer and more supportive environment for those in need. The cause of Kelly Wilkinson's death was a horrific act of violence committed against her. According to reports, her ex-partner, Brian Earl Johnston, a former U.S. Marine, allegedly doused her with gasoline and set her on fire in the backyard of her home in Arundel on the Gold Coast, Australia. Neighbors found Kelly's badly burned body, and she tragically died from severe injuries sustained during the attack. The incident took place in April 2021 and shocked the local community and the entire country. During the alleged attack, Kelly's 3 young children witnessed the horrific event unfold before their eyes, further adding to the tragedy of the situation. Brian Earl Johnston was later found in a semi-conscious state 2 blocks from the crime scene and was subsequently charged with the murder of Kelly Wilkinson. He remains in custody and has not yet pleaded guilty. This case has garnered a great deal of attention and highlights the urgent need to combat domestic violence and support victims of such heinous acts. Kelly Wilkinson's death has spurred efforts to raise awareness about domestic violence and the importance of creating a safe and supportive environment for victims and their families. Through the hard work and dedication of compassionate entrepreneur Tamika Smith and the support of the Queensland construction sector, a new home was built for Kelly's children and their extended family. This gesture was not only to provide them with physical shelter, but also to give them a new start in life and a sense of hope after experiencing trauma. The memory of Kelly Wilkinson lives on through the efforts of her sister Danielle Carroll and her husband Reese, who established the Kelly Wilkinson Foundation to support victims of domestic violence. While the legal proceedings continue, we hope that justice for Kelly is served and that her tragic death serves as a catalyst for change to combat domestic violence and better support vulnerable families in Australia. Hi, my name is Jack, and today we're going to look at another horrific case of Harmonny Montegomery. Harmonny Montegomery entered the world in July 2014, born to Adam and Kayla Montegomery. However, her early years were marked by adversity, with her father, Adam, incarcerated at the time of her birth, leaving Kayla as her sole caregiver. Amidst her parents' struggles with drug addiction, Harmonny experienced upheaval as she was removed from her mother's care on multiple occasions, taken into the custody of the Department of Children's Services and placed in foster care. Under the care of her foster family, Harmonny found love and support. Upon Adam's release from prison, he severed ties with Kayla and relocated from Massachusetts to New Hampshire. Despite the pending home inspection by the New Hampshire Department of Children, Youth and Families, Adam was granted custody of Harmonny in February 2019. Despite her biological mother remaining in Massachusetts, Harmonny moved to New Hampshire to live with her father and his new partner. However, the story took a sudden turn when Harmonny vanished without a trace. What befell her? To uncover the truth surrounding Harmonny Montegomery's disappearance, a deeper investigation into the case is imperative. According to New Hampshire court documents, Adam Montegomery, the father of the missing Harmonny Montegomery, stands accused of inflicting violence upon the partially sighted girl. Allegations include punching her in the face, subjecting her to demeaning tasks such as cleaning the toilet with a toothbrush, and forcing her to endure prolonged periods of isolation. Additionally, Adam failed to provide adequate information regarding Harmonny's whereabouts or well-being. Harmonny has been absent from the family and authorities' radar for over 2 years. Although her disappearance was reported recently, police investigations revealed that her whereabouts had been untraceable since the autumn of 2019. Adam Montegomery, described as a suspected drug addict with a criminal record spanning New Hampshire and Massachusetts, gained custody of Harmonny in early 2019. This followed his arrest on charges of assault and endangerment related to Harmonny's disappearance. Court documents disclosed his separation from his current spouse late last year due to relapse and subsequent residence in a sober living facility. Subsequently, he eloped with another woman, alleging a year-long romantic involvement. Harmonny's biological mother, Kayla, who is in custody, expressed concerns to the Manchester Police on November 18, 2021, regarding her inability to contact her daughter. Despite visiting multiple addresses linked to Montgomery, law enforcement failed to locate him for several weeks. As of December 27th, the New Hampshire Department of Children, Youth and Families also reported their inability to trace Harmonny. Investigations unveiled that Kayla lost custody of Harmonny in 2018, with both parents having a history of substance abuse. Kayla's last interaction with her daughter occurred during a FaceTime call before Easter in 2019. In their pursuit of Harmonny and Montegomery, authorities contacted Harmonny's uncle, Michael Montegomery, who expressed concerns over potential physical abuse by Adam. Adam's uncle, Kevin Montegomery, corroborated these apprehensions, citing an incident in 2019 where he observed Harmonny with a black eye. According to Kevin, Adam confessed to assaulting Harmonny after her younger brother's crying prompted her to cover his mouth, resulting in Adam striking her upon his return from the bathroom. As the investigation unfolds, the search for Harmonny continues, with multiple states' investigators actively engaged in the endeavor. Harmonny stands at approximately 4 feet tall and weighs around 50 pounds. She possesses blonde hair, blue eyes, and typically wears glasses. It's important to note that she is blind in her right eye, a significant aspect for identification purposes. Court documents do not specify the eye allegedly targeted in the reported assault. According to an affidavit, Kevin, Adam Montgomery's uncle, voiced suspicions that Adam had resumed drug use during this period. Montgomery's disciplinary methods were described as severe, including brutal beatings, lengthy periods of isolation, and menial tasks such as scrubbing the toilet with a toothbrush. Montgomery, along with his current wife, Sori Montgomery, have 3 younger children, all of whom are known to authorities. Sori confirmed witnessing Harmonny with a black eye, but mentioned her husband blaming it on one of their other children. She disclosed to detectives that she hadn't seen her husband for months as he had relocated to a sober living facility and subsequently to Maine. Additionally, she admitted to not having seen Harmonny since November or December 2019. The last reported sighting of Harmonny was when Adam Montgomery purportedly claimed he was taking her to Sori's residence in Lowell, Massachusetts. According to court documents, Kayla, Harmonny's biological mother, stated that following that day, she neither saw nor heard from Harmonny. Police located Adam Montgomery in a vehicle in Manchester on December 31st, where he was reportedly accompanied by a new girlfriend. The woman informed law enforcement that although she was aware of Montgomery having 3 children with one woman and a 4th with another, he had never discussed Harmonny during their romantic involvement over the previous year. During police interrogation, Montgomery provided conflicting statements, initially asserting recent contact with Harmonny before retracting and indicating the last time he claimed Sori picked her up was around Thanksgiving 2019. He subsequently ceased cooperation, informing investigators that he had no further statements to offer unless he was being arrested. Following his arrest on Tuesday, Montgomery waived his right to a bail hearing ahead of an expected arraignment on Wednesday, consenting to preventive detention. Additionally, the court issued a no-contact order, prohibiting him from contacting Montgomery's mother and ex-wife. New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella disclosed in an October briefing that Adam Montgomery allegedly struck Harmonny Montgomery, a person under the age of 13, in the head with a clenched fist on December 7, 2019. This act, as stated by Formella, resulted in the negligent causing of death of Harmonny Montgomery, under circumstances showing extreme indifference to the value of human life. Montgomery, who has a history of child abuse charges and a past heroin addiction, is also implicated in the shooting death of a man in Massachusetts in 2014 and is considered a suspect in another unsolved murder. According to the criminal complaint concerning Harmonny's death, Montgomery purportedly killed the young girl with repeated blows to the head. Investigators allege that over the ensuing 3 months, Montgomery relocated Harmonny's body multiple times, storing it in various places such as the trunk of an acquaintance's car, a refrigerator in his mother-in-law's apartment building hallway, a ceiling vent at a homeless shelter, and a freezer in an apartment. At one point, the remains were concealed in a large bag from the hospital's maternity ward, transported by Kayla Montgomery, Adam's wife, between her young children in a stroller to her husband's workplace. During an interview with detectives, Kayla Montgomery detailed how Adam allegedly delivered a series of 3 to 4 blows to Harmonny's face/head with a clenched fist on December 7, 2019. Following the final blow, Adam purportedly expressed concern about the severity of Harmonny's injuries, stating, "I think I really hurt her this time. I think I did something." Harmonny emitted a moaning sound for approximately 5 minutes before ceasing, yet neither Adam nor Kayla checked on her or sought medical assistance. Instead, the family continued their routine, including a trip to Burger King. It wasn't until their car broke down that the Montgomerys discovered Harmonny was not breathing and had passed away. Adam then placed Harmonny's lifeless body in a red gym bag, which was subsequently concealed in various locations to evade detection. Eventually, in the spring of 2020, Adam allegedly disposed of Harmonny's body using a rented truck under the cover of night. Subsequent police investigation uncovered traces of decomposition in the ceiling vent where Harmonny's body had been hidden, as well as inconsistencies in Kayla Montgomery's accounts of the events leading up to Harmonny's death, and the subsequent disposal of her remains. Prior to the alleged murder of his daughter, Mr. Montgomery had a history of violence and an extensive criminal record. This included convictions for shooting a man in the head during a drug deal just 6 months prior to Harmonny's birth. Additionally, he was convicted of assaulting 2 women at gunpoint in 2010. Furthermore, Montgomery emerged as a suspect in an unsolved murder case involving a 28-year-old man named Darlin Guzman in Lynn, New Hampshire, in February 2008. Guzman was discovered shot in the chest in the parking lot of a former White Hen convenience store in Austin Square in Lynn on the night of February 10, 2008, and was later pronounced dead at a hospital. According to a law enforcement source, Montgomery, who was 18 at the time, along with 2 unnamed family members, were central figures in the murder investigation from its inception. The trio had reportedly been in contact with the victim earlier in the day, intending to meet him at the store, which ultimately resulted in the fatal shooting. Guzman's vehicle was later found abandoned in the direction of Bedford, New Hampshire, where Montgomery resided at the time. Despite no formal charges being brought forth in Guzman's murder, sources indicate that Montgomery remains the primary focus of the investigation to this day. New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella announced charges against Adam Montgomery relating to his daughter's disappearance and presumed death. These charges, announced at a briefing on Monday, include second-degree murder, tampering with evidence, abuse of a corpse, and interfering with witnesses. This comes approximately 3 years after Harmonny Montgomery was last seen alive. Adam Montgomery stands accused of striking the young girl in the head on December 7, 2019, leading to her death due to negligence and extreme indifference to the value of human life. Harmonny's disappearance garnered national attention when reported missing in late 2021, triggering an extensive search for the child and scrutiny of potential shortcomings in both Massachusetts and New Hampshire's child protection systems. This story has come to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write comments, as it motivates us to make more videos for you. Also check out our other videos in the playlist. All the best. Hi, my name is Jack, and today we're going to look at another horrific case of Richard Ramirez. Today we're talking about Richard Ramirez, aka Night Stalker, who for several years terrorized California by entering random strangers' homes, brutally murdering his victims for no reason at all. Let's find out what the reason was, shall we? Let's go back to Richard's childhood. Richard Ramirez entered the world in 1960 in El Paso, Texas, as the youngest of 5 siblings. Growing up, he often roamed the streets, indulging in marijuana to escape his reality. To fuel his drug habit, he resorted to robbing shops, apartments, and unsuspecting passers-by. His turbulent upbringing was marked by frequent beatings from his father, resulting in 2 head injuries and epilepsy until he reached 17. His cousin Miguel, a Vietnam veteran, introduced him to the horrors of war, sharing disturbing tales and gruesome photographs depicting torture. Witnessing Miguel fatally shoot his own wife during a heated argument deeply traumatized Richard, leading him to withdraw into himself and eventually drop out of school. Subsequently, Ramirez immersed himself further in a life of delinquency, spending excessive time on the streets, indulging in marijuana, LSD, and delving into the occult. His criminal record commenced in 1977 with juvenile detention for minor offenses, followed by probation for marijuana possession in 1982. He later relocated to San Francisco and then Los Angeles, where cocaine addiction fueled his involvement in burglaries. A car theft charge in 1983 landed him behind bars for a year. Notably, Ramirez's personal hygiene was notoriously poor, and he suffered from severely decayed teeth. On June 28, 1984, Ramirez broke into the home of Jenny Winkow, a 79-year-old woman he had raped, stabbed, and left for dead. It was the beginning of a series of murders that horrified the West Coast for more than a year. 9 months following Winkow's murder, Ramirez struck once more, viciously assaulting 3 young women, resulting in the deaths of 2. A mere 10 days later, he claimed the lives of Vincent and Maxine Zazzara, followed by William and Lily Doy. In the ensuing months, he continued his spree, claiming a dozen more lives, prompting the formation of a specialized police task force, which included units from the FBI to hunt down this merciless killer. Gathering information from multiple survivors, the police constructed a composite sketch of the perpetrator. Ramirez's face was plastered across all major publications in Southern California, garnering widespread media attention. Alongside the composite sketch, investigators discovered an abandoned '76 Toyota station wagon, believed to be the Night Stalker's vehicle. Despite most of the car being devoid of fingerprints, authorities managed to uncover a solitary readable print from the interior. On March 17, 1985, Ramirez attacked 22-year-old Maria Hernandez outside her home. He shot her before entering her home. Inside was 34-year-old Dale Okazaki, whom Ramirez immediately shot and killed. Hernandez survived. The bullet ricocheted off the keys she was holding as she picked them up to defend herself. An hour after Okazaki was killed, Ramirez struck again in Monterey Park. He pounced on 30-year-old Tsai Lian Yu and dragged her out of her car and into the road. He shot her several times and fled. A police officer found her still breathing, but she died before paramedics arrived. The 2 attacks, which occurred on the same day, attracted media attention and in turn caused panic and fear among the public. The media dubbed the attacker, who had long curly hair, bulging eyes, and wide-set rotten teeth. On March 27th, Ramirez shot and killed Vincent Zazzara, 64, and his wife Maxine, 44. Miss Zazzara's body was mutilated with several stab wounds and a T-shaped carving on her left breast, and her eyes were gouged out. An autopsy determined that the mutilations were inflicted posthumously. Ramirez left footprints in the flower beds, which police photographed and filmed. It was virtually the only evidence the police had at the time. Bullets found at the scene matched bullets found in previous attacks, and police realized there was a serial killer on the loose. Vincent and Maxine's bodies were discovered at their home in Whittier by their son Peter. By this time, a police investigation was underway in several counties. Law enforcement worked through the entire month of April without any new attacks by Ramirez. 2 months after the murder of the Zazzara couple, Ramirez attacked a Chinese couple, Harold Wu, 66, who was shot in the head, and his wife Jin Wu, 63, was beaten, tied up, and then brutally raped. For unknown reasons, Ramirez decided to let her live. Ramirez's attacks were now in full swing. He left behind more clues to his identity, and the media dubbed him the Night Stalker. Survivors of his attack provided police with a description of a tall, Hispanic, and long-haired man. On May 29, 1985, Ramirez attacked Malviel Keller, 83, and her disabled sister Blanche Wolfe, 80, beating each with a hammer. Ramirez attempted to rape Keller but failed. Using lipstick, he drew pentagrams on Keller's thigh and on the bedroom wall. Blanche survived the attack. The next day, Ramirez bound, raped, and sexually assaulted 41-year-old Ruth Wilson and locked her 12-year-old son in the bathroom. Ramirez punched Wilson once, then tied her and her son up and left. 3 other women were killed in June and July. 2 had their throats slit, 1 was beaten to death, and the homes of all 3 were invaded. On July 5th, 16-year-old Whitney Bennett survived being beaten with a tire iron. On July 7th, 63-year-old Linda Fortuna was attacked and Ramirez tried to rape her, but was unsuccessful. On July 20th, he struck twice again. In Sun Valley, he shot and killed a 32-year-old Chitat Asawaham man, and his 29-year-old wife, Sakima, was beaten and forced to perform oral sex on him. Ramirez then collected valuables and left. Later that day, a Glendale couple, 66-year-old Maxon Knighting and his wife Layla, also 66, were shot and their bodies mutilated. On August 6th, Ramirez shot 38-year-old Christopher Peterson and his 27-year-old wife Virginia in the heads. Miraculously, they both survived. On August 8th, Ramirez attacked a Diamond Bar couple, fatally shooting Ahmed Zia, 35, and then raped, sexually assaulted, and forced Zia's wife, 28-year-old Suu Kyi, to give him a blowjob. The description of the assailant is consistent with previous ones given for the sudden killer. Ramirez then left the Los Angeles area and shot and killed a 66-year-old man in San Francisco on August 17th and shot and beat his wife. The wife survived her wounds and was able to identify her attacker as the killer from police sketches. Since the sudden killer no longer fit the attacker's modus operandi, the media rechristened him the Night Stalker. The next big break in the case came on August 24, 1985. Ramirez drove 50 miles south of Los Angeles to Mission Viejo and broke into the Mediterranean Village apartment of Bill Carnes, 29, and his fiancée Inez Erickson, 27. Ramirez shot Carnes in the head and raped Erickson. He demanded that she swear her love for Satan and then forced her to perform oral sex on him. He then tied her up and left. Erickson snuck to the window and saw the car Ramirez was driving. She was able to give a description of both Ramirez and his orange Toyota station wagon. The teen later identified the car from news reports and wrote down half of its license plate number. The stolen vehicle was recovered on August 28th, and police were able to obtain one fingerprint that was on the car's mirror. The print belonged to one Richard Munoz Ramirez, who was described as a 25-year-old drifter from Texas with a long list of crimes that included multiple arrests for traffic violations and drug trafficking. Thanks to DNA, police now knew the name of the man who had terrorized California for more than a year. This led to one of the most dramatic arrests ever made. On August 31, 1985, Ramirez's identity was revealed to the public. Without his knowledge, Ramirez took a bus back to Los Angeles after visiting his brother in Arizona, unaware that police had identified him as the infamous Night Stalker killer. While driving to the bus station, Ramirez happened to walk into a nearby liquor store and unexpectedly noticed his picture on the front page of the newspaper. The customer started yelling "El Matón," which means the killer. Ramirez walked and headed down a nearby residential street, where he noticed a woman getting out of her car. After attempting to carjack her, neighbors heard her screams and headed outside to investigate further. They immediately recognized Ramirez and formed an angry mob, knocking him down and beating him mercilessly in the street. When the police arrived on the scene, they found a bloodied Ramirez, at first unaware that this group of people had tracked down the infamous Night Stalker killer. He was taken into custody, and that night California could sleep easy. Jury selection for the case commenced on July 22, 1988, culminating in Richard Ramirez being found guilty on September 20, 1989, of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. During the penalty phase on November 7, 1989, he received a death sentence by gas chamber in California. The trial of Richard Ramirez stood as one of the most intricate and protracted criminal proceedings in American legal history. Approximately 1,600 potential jurors underwent questioning, with over 100 witnesses testifying. While some witnesses struggled to recall certain details 4 years post-crime, others remained steadfast in identifying Richard Ramirez. On August 3, 1988, a newspaper reported prison officials overhearing Ramirez plotting to shoot a prosecutor with a gun he intended to smuggle into the courtroom. Consequently, stringent security measures, including a metal detector and thorough searches, were implemented for incoming individuals. The trial encountered a setback on August 14th when juror Phyllis Singletary failed to appear in court. Tragically, she was discovered shot to death in her apartment later that day. While speculation arose regarding Ramirez's involvement, investigations revealed Singletary's boyfriend as the perpetrator, who subsequently took his own life. The replacement alternate juror was too frightened to return home. Facing over 40 charges, including 13 counts of first-degree murder, Ramirez's erratic behavior and references to Satan during the trial instilled fear in the jury. Nevertheless, they rendered him guilty on 13 counts of first-degree murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 robberies. On November 7, 1989, Ramirez received a death sentence at San Quentin Prison, where he callously remarked, "Big deal. Death has always been part of the territory. I'll see you at Disneyland." While awaiting execution on death row, Ramirez garnered attention from female admirers, some of whom expressed love for the convicted murderer through correspondence. One woman in particular formed a bond with the Night Stalker, leading to their marriage in 1996. Ramirez lived out his remaining years on death row, succumbing to cancer in 2013 after 23 years. This story has come to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write comments, as it motivates us to make more videos for you. Also check out our other videos in the playlist. All the best. Hi, my name is Jack. Today we're watching the horrible case of Meighan Cordie. A Michigan man was arrested Monday on murder charges related to the fatal shootings of two people, one of whom was his roommate in a dormitory on the University of Colorado campus in Colorado Springs, police said. The man arrested, 25-year-old Nicholas Jordan of Detroit, was also a student at the university. He faces first-degree murder charges in the shooting deaths of fellow student Samuel Knopp, 24, of Parker, Colorado, and a female campus visitor Celie Rain Montgomery, 26, of Pueblo, Colorado, the Colorado Springs Police Department said Monday, releasing a series of statements on social media. Authorities confirmed Tuesday that Mr. Jordan and Mr. Knopp were roommates. They did not provide a motive or other details, including why Miss Montgomery was on campus. Caitlin Ford, a spokeswoman for the department, said Tuesday that the police were still investigating what happened. Mr. Jordan's bail was raised from $1 million to $5 million, cash only, at a review hearing Tuesday afternoon. He was being held at the El Paso County Jail in Colorado Springs. Mr. Knopp was a senior studying music, and Mr. Jordan was also enrolled at the university, said Jenna Press, a university spokeswoman. The university's 2023 music program featured a video of Mr. Knopp playing guitar during his recital. About 6 a.m. Friday, campus police received a call about a shooting from Crestone House, a dormitory on the University of Colorado campus in Colorado Springs, a city of about 480,000 people in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. Campus police found two dead people in the room and called the Colorado Springs Police Department, which sent its homicide unit to investigate. By Friday evening, police had obtained an arrest warrant and began searching for Mr. Jordan. By Sunday, the police described the shooting as an isolated incident between parties who were known to each other, not a random attack on the school or other university students. The search continued all weekend, police said, until about 8 a.m. Monday, when officers from the auto theft unit found Mr. Jordan in one of the city's cars. He was taken into custody about 30 minutes later. Students and officials held a healing walk around campus Monday, laying flowers at the base of a marble statue of a mountain lion, the university's symbol and mascot for its sports teams. The man accused of killing his roommate and another person in a University of Colorado dormitory on the Colorado Springs campus last Friday, February 16th, appeared in El Paso County Court Friday morning. An affidavit detailing what happened leading up to the fatal shooting and arrest of Nicholas Jordan shows some tension between roommates and threats over trash. Jordan was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Samuel Knopp, 24, a registered UCCS student from Parker, and Celie Rain Montgomery, who was from Pueblo. Jordan, 25, is from Detroit and is a student at UCCS. Jordan and Knopp were roommates along with another man. They lived in a dorm described as a pod, with a common area and 4 separate bedrooms with lockable doors. Knopp and Montgomery were found shot to death in Knopp's bedroom. One bedroom belonged to Jordan, and the third bedroom belonged to a man who called police after hearing gunshots and a man moaning. According to testimony, the fourth bedroom was empty. According to the affidavit, there were complaints about Jordan smoking marijuana, cigarettes, and leaving trash. There were also several incidents where Knopp and another roommate reported Jordan for unsafe living conditions and smoking in the room. Court documents detail a dispute in January between Knopp and Jordan over a bag of trash. Jordan apparently threatened Knopp and told him he would kill him, and there would be consequences if Jordan was asked to take out the trash again. Jordan was arrested in Colorado Springs Monday morning, and at a hearing Tuesday, a judge set bail at $5 million. The UCCS campus is located along Austin Bluffs Boulevard in northeast Colorado Springs. It is one of 4 universities in the University of Colorado system. The others are in Boulder, Denver, and Aurora, University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. 2 people were found dead with gunshot wounds in a dormitory on the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs campus Friday. The bodies were discovered by police just after 6 a.m. classes were canceled for the day, and lockdown and shelter-in-place orders were lifted on campus immediately afterward. The Colorado Springs Police Department said a homicide investigation is underway and that it is being investigated as an isolated incident. In its tweet, the CSPD said it does not believe there is an ongoing threat to the community. In an update posted on social media Friday night, police said this incident does not appear to be a murder-suicide, and both deaths are being investigated as homicides. We are continuing to develop and follow investigative leads and will provide additional information when it becomes available, police added.